Some homes don't need luxury to feel alive. They only need love. That house was one of them. Every morning began with warmth, not from sunlight, but from a mother's voice calling her daughter awake. It echoed softly through the small rooms, carrying comfort, safety, and routine. The little girl would rush into her mother's arms, laughing, while her father watched from a distance, quietly grateful for the simple life they shared. They were not rich, but they were complete. The mother was the heartbeat of the home. She turned ordinary days into memories and small moments into reasons to smile. Dinner conversations were filled with laughter, and nights ended with stories and whispered prayers. Before sleep, she would gently stroke her daughter's hair and say words meant to last longer than childhood. Life will test you, my child, but never forget, you are stronger than you think. The girl believed her. How could she not? As long as her mother was there, the world felt safe. But life never warns you before it changes. At first it was small things. The mother grew tired more often. Her smile faded quicker. Pain began visiting without invitation. Hospital appointments replaced family outings. The walls of their home slowly filled with silence instead of laughter. Then came the day that shattered everything. The doctor stood still, holding a file he had opened too many times before. His words were slow, careful, and heavy. It's cancer. Advanced stage. We'll do what we can, but it's no longer curable. In that moment, the father felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. And the child, too young to understand death, felt fear for the first time. The mother never cried in front of them. Even as her body weakened, her spirit refused to break. She smiled through pain, holding her daughter's hand as if she were the strong one. One quiet night in the hospital, she pulled her daughter close and whispered, "If one day I'm not here, promise me something. Don't let this world harden your heart. Protect your dreams, and never believe you are unwanted." The girl nodded, tears falling silently onto the hospital sheets. A few days later, the house lost its heartbeat. The mother passed away. The walls still stood. The rooms were still there, but the love that once filled them was gone. And that was only the beginning of the story. Not of loss, but of a journey that would test a child in ways no child ever should be tested. Grief changed the house long before another woman entered it. After the mother's death, time moved differently. Mornings felt heavier. Nights stretched longer. The father became quieter, carrying his pain like an invisible weight. And the little girl, she learned too early what it meant to miss someone who would never return. At first, it was just the two of them, a broken father and a motherless child, trying to survive the silence. But loneliness has a way of convincing people to make decisions they are not ready for. Friends spoke gently, offering advice wrapped in concern. A child needs a mother. You shouldn't live alone forever. The father listened, not because he was ready, but because he was tired of being strong. And so, one day, a new woman entered the house. She arrived with polite smiles and soft words, pretending kindness like a well-rehearsed act. She spoke sweetly to the girl, brushed her hair, even cooked meals that smelled unfamiliar. For a moment, the child wanted to believe this could work. But kindness that is forced never lasts. Slowly, the woman's tone began to change. Her smiles faded when no one was watching. Her eyes carried judgment instead of warmth. She noticed the girl's presence the way one notices an inconvenience. At night, whispers filled the father's ears. "She reminds you too much of your first wife. She doesn't respect me. She stands between us." The father said nothing, and his silence became permission. The girl felt it before she understood it. The air in the house grew colder. Her footsteps became unwanted. Small mistakes were punished harshly. Every word she spoke seemed to irritate the woman who was now called her stepmother. Soon, even her father's behavior changed. The man who once protected her now looked away. The man who once listened now believed accusations without questions. "She's lazy. She's stubborn. She brings bad luck into this house." The girl stopped explaining. She stopped defending herself. Because no one was listening, meals became fewer. Scoldings became louder. Love disappeared quietly, replaced by control and cruelty. The house that once felt safe now felt dangerous. At night, she would lie awake, clutching her blanket, whispering the same question into the darkness. What did I do wrong? She missed her mother more than ever, not just for love, but for protection. Because without her, no one stood between the child and the storm that was slowly destroying her. Childhood. And while the father slept beside his new wife, the little girl learned her first painful truth. Sometimes losing a parent doesn't happen only once. Sometimes it happens again, when the one who remains chooses silence over love. Every morning, the girl put on her school uniform as if nothing had changed. From the outside, she looked like any other student, quiet, polite, and invisible. But inside, she carried a weight far heavier than her school bag. Home was no longer a place of rest. It was a place of fear. The stepmother's voice controlled the rhythm of the house. Orders replaced conversation. Anger replaced care. And the father, he became a shadow, present yet absent in every way that mattered. Food was no longer guaranteed. Some nights the girl went to bed hungry, listening to her stomach ache while tears soaked her pillow. Still, she never complained. She had learned that silence hurt less than being blamed. School became her only escape. Within those classroom walls, she could forget, just for a few hours, that she was unwanted at home. She listened carefully, studied hard, and dreamed quietly. Her teachers noticed her dedication, but none knew the truth behind her tired eyes. What they didn't see was what happened after the final bell rang. While other students ran home, the girl stayed behind. She picked up a broom instead of a backpack. She wiped desks she once sat at, cleaned hallways she once walked through with friends, and scrubbed floors until her hands burned. In the morning, she was a student. By evening, she was a cleaner in the same school. The money was small, but it meant survival. It meant a piece of bread. It meant one more day of endurance. She would look at the classrooms while cleaning them and whisper to herself, "One day I'll sit here again, not to clean but to learn." At home, the cruelty grew worse. The stepmother complained constantly, feeding the father lies until he no longer questioned them. "She's useless. She eats too much. She doesn't belong here." And then came the night everything collapsed. The father stood near the door, his face hard, his voice unfamiliar. "You're no longer welcome in this house," he said coldly. "Take your things and leave." The girl stood frozen. This was the man who once held her shoulders when she was afraid of the dark. Now he was the one pushing her into it. She stepped outside with nothing but a small bag and a broken heart. The door closed behind her with a final sound that echoed louder than any scream. She didn't know where she would go. She didn't know how she would survive. But one thing was clear. Her childhood ended that night. As she walked away, tears blurred her vision, but her steps did not stop. Because somewhere deep inside, a quiet strength, planted long ago by her mother, was beginning to wake up. And that strength would be the only thing standing between her and a world that had already taken too much from her. Life at home had grown darker for Maya. Her father's new wife had tightened her grip on the house, transforming it from a place of warmth into a cage. Every room echoed with whispers of cruelty and disdain. The woman, whose smile had once seemed harmless, now wielded authority like a weapon, turning Maya's father into a silent observer rather than a protector. The warmth that once defined Maya's home was replaced by cold glances, harsh words, and the sting of rejection. Morning after morning, Maya would wake before the sun, careful not to disturb the fragile truce that existed between her and the new authority in the house. She would prepare breakfast quietly, her movements swift yet measured, ensuring she did not draw attention. The house, once filled with laughter and love, now resonated with tension. Every step she took seemed to echo with judgment. Every mistake, no matter how small, was met with sharp reprimands. Yet Maya's resilience refused to break. She clung to memories of her mother, replaying moments of affection and wisdom that seemed like distant beacons guiding her. Through this storm, school became her sanctuary, a place where she could breathe, think, and momentarily escape the harshness that awaited her at home. But even school was not merely a place of learning. It had become a place of responsibility. After classes, she would stay behind, cleaning classrooms and halls, earning small wages that would help cover her daily needs. Her hands, though young, had become strong and calloused from the unrelenting burden of survival. At home, the situation worsened. Her stepmother and father began plotting ways to diminish her presence. They spoke in hushed tones, laughing behind closed doors, plotting punishments that Maya could neither anticipate nor escape. The love and protection of her father had been replaced by complicity and cruelty, leaving Maya isolated and hurt. Yet in that loneliness, a quiet strength emerged. She learned to read emotions, anticipate anger, and navigate hostility with patience and caution. Evenings were the hardest. Returning from her chores and schoolwork, Maya would eat sparingly, often feeling the pangs of hunger. Yet she never allowed despair to overpower her spirit. She dreamed silently of a life where love was abundant, where her efforts and sacrifices would be acknowledged. In the quiet of her room, she would write letters to herself, imagining a future filled with hope, achievement, and freedom, a future where kindness, not cruelty, defined her world. Maya's journey had become one of survival, perseverance, and inner strength. Though her young heart carried wounds inflicted by those who were supposed to protect her, her spirit refused to bow. In the shadows of betrayal, she discovered resilience, a determination that would shape her destiny in ways no cruelty could ever erase. Maya's world had been carved from pain, yet within that darkness, she discovered a spark of determination that refused to die. The harshness of her home had shaped her, but it could not break her spirit. Every cruel word, every act of injustice became a silent fuel for her dreams. She knew she could not rely on anyone else to secure her future. It had to be her own courage, perseverance, and resilience that would define her path. After leaving the suffocating house, Maya faced the world alone. Streets that once seemed indifferent now felt like both a challenge and a promise. She worked tirelessly, taking small jobs at offices, shops, and homes, doing chores, filing papers, and assisting wherever she was needed. Her hands were busy, but her mind never stopped. She studied at night, memorizing lessons, writing essays, and preparing herself for university entrance exams. Every obstacle became a lesson in endurance, teaching her patience, strategy, and the value of self-reliance. Finally, her hard work bore fruit. She earned admission to a reputable university, a place that promised knowledge, opportunity, and a chance to rebuild her life. The excitement was mingled with fear of failing, fear of rejection, but Maya's past had taught her that courage often meant facing fears head-on. At the university, she excelled academically, impressing professors with her dedication, insight, and unwavering focus. Simultaneously, she took part-time work to cover her living expenses, proving that no adversity could prevent her from reaching her goals. It was during this time that love quietly entered her life. A young man, kind-hearted and sincere, noticed her strength, determination, and warmth. Unlike the men who had once let her down, he valued her for who she truly was, not for her past or her struggles. Their friendship grew naturally into love, a comforting presence that reminded Maya that happiness was still possible. Together, they dreamed of a future filled with respect, trust, and shared ambition. Maya's life had changed in more ways than one. She now had a stable job after graduation, a loving partner, and the satisfaction of having built something meaningful from the fragments of her past. But she never forgot the lessons she had learned in hardship. The importance of resilience, the power of self-belief, and the truth that kindness and love are treasures to cherish, not take for granted. Even as she looked back at the pain, the betrayal, and the struggles, Maya felt a profound sense of accomplishment. She had survived the worst, and in doing so, she had created a life worth living, one where hope, strength, and love triumphed over cruelty. Years had passed, and Maya had grown into a strong, compassionate, and accomplished woman. Her life was filled with love, stability, and purpose, a stark contrast to the cruelty she had endured in her childhood. Yet she never allowed her success to make her forget the lessons of empathy and resilience she had learned along the way. The hardships of her youth had shaped her, but they had not hardened her heart. Meanwhile, her father and stepmother had aged, their once authoritative presence weakened by time and regret. Their children, raised in comfort and indulgence, had grown selfish and ungrateful, leaving their aging parents neglected and lonely. The house that had once been a place of pride for them had become a silent prison, echoing with emptiness and abandonment. Slowly, they began to realize the consequences of their past actions, how their mistreatment of Maya had set in motion a chain of suffering that neither power nor wealth could reverse. Word reached Maya about her father and stepmother's plight. Her heart wavered between anger and compassion, but she remembered the values her mother had instilled in her: kindness, understanding, and forgiveness. Despite the years of pain they had caused, Maya decided to act, not out of duty, but out of the strength and generosity she had nurtured within herself. She resolved to bring them into her life once again, not as they had been, but as human beings deserving of care in their final years. When she arrived at their home, her father and stepmother were frail and ashamed, their eyes reflecting both fear and longing. Maya welcomed them with gentle words and an open heart. She tended to their needs, providing warmth, comfort, and dignity, transforming her home into a sanctuary, where past grievances were acknowledged but no longer held power over the present. In her actions, she demonstrated a profound truth: forgiveness is not about erasing the past, but about reclaiming one's own peace. Maya's life, which had begun in loss and suffering, had come full circle. Through perseverance, courage, and compassion, she had created a future defined by love and integrity. Her story became a testament to the power of resilience, the importance of education and self-reliance, and the transformative strength of forgiveness. As her father and stepmother found solace in her care, Maya understood that true triumph is not measured by wealth or status, but by the ability to rise above pain, heal, and extend kindness even to those who once caused harm. In this act of grace, Maya not only secured peace for her childhood tormentors, but also for herself, completing a journey from heartbreak to hope, and from suffering to redemption.